the Autism Intervention Training video series. In this video, we will define and give some examples of different types of prompts. We will define prompt hierarchies and explain how to use them. We will also discuss the importance of systematically removing prompts. Let's begin by defining what a prompt is. Prompts are stimuli presented to ensure the occurrence of a response. In other words, prompts are cues that an instructor can use to make sure a child succeeds at a task. For example, when teaching a child to do a puzzle or put together Mr. Potato Head, the therapist can tap the correct space with a finger. This prompts the child to place the piece in the correct place. When teaching a child to brush his teeth, the therapist might physically guide the child's hands through the motions. This ensures that the child performs the correct actions.
Brush teeth.
The variety of prompts is almost endless. We will discuss the ones used most frequently. Let's begin with physical prompts. With physical prompts, the therapist physically moves the child to make the correct response. One common physical prompt is a hand-over-hand prompt. With hand-over-hand prompting, a therapist holds the child's hand and guides the child towards the correct response. For example, the therapist could guide the child's hand to show him how to put a lace through the correct hole or how to print a letter. Let's watch an example of a therapist using physical prompts.
Say scrub, scrub.
Another way to prompt a child is to model the correct response. With modeling, the therapist acts out the response. This ensures that the child observes the response being done correctly. For example, when teaching a child to play feed a doll, you could model feeding a bottle to the doll before asking the child to feed a bottle to the doll. Note in this example, the therapist also used some physical prompts. Here is an example of a therapist using a modeling prompt with block building.
I built a train. Can you make a train?
Yeah. I put something behind my train. And I got in.
Wow, look at that train. Good job.
Gestures are another type of prompt. Gestures include pointing towards, looking at, or otherwise gesturing to indicate a correct response. For example, when asking a child to touch the yellow card, you could tap the correct card.
Touch yellow. Oh, wow, good.
Visual prompts use visual information to give the child a clue about the correct response. For example, you might hold up a picture of a question mark to prompt the child to ask you a question.
There's bubbles in the room.
Note, the therapist held the picture of the question mark toward the camera so we could see it, but she would not normally present it in such an awkward manner. Positional prompts involve positioning the teaching material in a way that increases the chances that the child will respond correctly. For example, you could place the cue card with the correct response closer to the child than any of the other cards.
Keegan, give me all the animals.
Oh.
In this example, the therapist placed all the animals close to the child and all the other pictures on her side of the table. Last, verbal prompts refer to any vocal cues you may give to the child. There are many different types of verbal prompts. For example, you could use a direct echo prompt. While playing, you might say the words you want the child to say. Or when using questions, you might ask the child a question and then immediately say the correct answer. The child echoes you to get the correct answer. Here are some examples.
Chip. Eat.
Eat.
Chip.
Chip.
Good. Nice work. There you go.
Table first, then we can play. That's nice. Good boy. What's your name?
Tim.
Oh, what's your name? Carter.
Cutter.
Good boy. What's your name?
Cutter.
You got it. Nice work. What does a horse say? Neigh. That's it.
Now that we have reviewed some of the different types of prompts, we can discuss prompt hierarchies. A prompt hierarchy can help you decide what prompt to begin with when teaching a new skill. It is also useful for planning how to remove prompts as the child begins to acquire new skills.
Good.
A prompt hierarchy is a list of prompts for teaching a specific skill. The list begins with the prompts that provide the most help to the child and ends with the prompts that provide the least help to the child. Let's imagine you are going to teach a child how to brush his or her hair. First, you decide on an appropriate SD or instruction.
Brush hair.
My hands are gonna hurt me.
Oh, good job brushing your hair, buddy. I liked it.
Next, you identify a sequence of prompts ranging from explicit support to minimal support of the behavior to be taught. The top of the hierarchy might be a physical hand-over-hand prompt where you guide the child's hand as he or she brushes his or her hair. The next level of the hierarchy might use a modeling prompt in which you give the SD and then begin brushing your own hair or a doll's hair.
Okay, Sophie, I want you to brush your hair.
Next, you might use a positional prompt in which you give the SD, place the hairbrush in an accessible position, and then point at the child's hair. A very minimal prompt would be a pause prompt, in which you simply wait for the child to brush following the SD. At the bottom of the hierarchy might be a contextual prompt, in which the child is shown a photograph of brushing in the context of a learned sequence, such as dressing. When beginning a new task, you want to start with the lowest level of prompt in the prompt hierarchy that the child requires to be successful on that task. For example, if the child can only brush his or her hair with a physical hand-over-hand prompt, you should begin with a physical prompt. If the child can complete the task with a visual, you should begin at this level of prompt, and so on. As the child acquires skills, you need to remove the prompts by moving down the prompt hierarchy. If not removed quickly, the child can become dependent on the prompt. Using the prompt hierarchy as a guide for removing prompts helps teach children to be able to succeed independently. The technical term for this process of moving down the prompt hierarchy and removing prompts is prompt fading. Let's watch a therapist demonstrate
Touch
prompt
cheeks.
fading.
Wow!
You want this?
Yeah.
No. Okay. I'm coming. Touch cheeks. Whoa! 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 Touch cheeks. Love it. Meow. Want to play? Okay. Touch ears. Whoa! It's all yours!
Notice in the last trial, the therapist held her hands at the ready, but no longer used the hand-over-hand prompt. There are two ways to fade prompts using the prompt hierarchy. The first way is to fade the intensity of the prompt within a level of the prompt hierarchy. The second way is to test or probe the child's competence at the next lower level of the prompt hierarchy. With both methods, the goal is to fade prompts as quickly as possible while ensuring maximum success. It would be great if children could be prompted with such accuracy and precision that they never gave an incorrect response. Of course, this goal is unattainable. However, we can try to minimize errors by fading prompts only when we think the child can succeed with a lower intensity or lower level prompt. To fade the intensity of a prompt within a level of the prompt hierarchy, we make it less and less noticeable. For example, when using hand-over-hand prompts, you can start to apply less pressure, gradually allowing the child to move his or her hand independently. You can fade a point prompt in a similar manner by gradually gesturing in smaller and less noticeable ways. Or you could fade a verbal prompt by giving less and less verbal instructions, or by only saying the first syllable of a correct response rather than the whole word. Once you have faded the intensity of a prompt and you believe that the child can succeed at the next level in the prompt hierarchy, you can probe the child's readiness. You do this by moving down one prompt level in your hierarchy and determining if the child is successful. If the child succeeds, you can stay at that lower level prompt and begin fading towards the next lower level in your hierarchy. If the child does not succeed, you go back up to the previous level of prompt where the child was successful and work towards fading the intensity again. First, we will watch an example of a therapist successfully probing a lower level prompt. Then, we will watch an example of a therapist probing a lower level prompt where the child fails and the therapist moves back up to the higher level of prompt.
Look, I made steps.
I made steps.
Can you make steps too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, look, you made steps. Give me a high five.
More steps.
Look, I made steps.
I'm not gonna make steps.
Can you make steps too?
Yeah. Made steps.
Oh, that's very good, Keegan. Here's your trains. There you go.
Oh.
Look, I built steps. Can you build me some steps?
Yeah. On the block.
Oh, that's a good job. Here's your truck.
Let's go my truck. I got my truck today. Has a nice to say you.
Mm-hmm. Look, Keegan, I built steps.
What yours do I use?
Can you make me some steps?
Yeah.
That's perfect. Good job. Here you go. And let's build.
He's gonna go home. Truck's going home.
We have now defined what a prompt is and given examples of some of the more commonly used types of prompts. We discussed prompt hierarchies and demonstrated how they can be used to begin teaching a new task, as well as how they can be used for fading prompts. As we reach the end of this video, we must emphasize that fading prompts is one of the most important things you need to remember. It would be pointless to teach children to do things that they could only ever do if they were prompted. Therefore, from the very moment you begin using prompts, you should be thinking about how best to remove them.